She thought she was meeting an ordinary man struggling to raise his kids. What she didn't know was that the man across the table owned half the city, and her kindness on that blind date was about to change both of their lives forever. Ethan Cole was a man who could buy anything money could offer, but what he couldn't seem to buy was genuine love. At only 37, he had built one of the biggest tech empires in the country. His name was whispered with respect in boardrooms, his signature could make or break fortunes, and he was featured on magazine covers as the billionaire genius. But behind the tailored suits, the million-dollar penthouse, and the chauffeur-driven cars, Ethan was a widowed father of 6-year-old twins, Noah and Emma. His wife had passed away suddenly 5 years ago, and since then, Ethan had lived in a world of polished emptiness. He loved his children more than anything, yet the loneliness crept in every night once they were asleep. His board members urged him to remarry, his assistants tried setting him up, but every woman he met seemed to see only his wealth, not the man who longed for a partner to share bedtime stories, late-night laughter, and life's little struggles. One evening, his best friend Daniel suggested something unusual. "Why don't you try a blind date? But this time, don't tell her who you are. Pretend you're just ordinary. A man with kids, working a regular job. See if someone can love you for you, not your billions." Ethan laughed at the thought at first, but the idea lingered. He had seen enough fake smiles, gold-digging glances, and forced politeness to last a lifetime. What if Daniel was right? What if the only way to truly find someone genuine was to strip away his wealth from the picture? 2 weeks later, Ethan nervously sat at a modest family-style diner, his twins sitting beside him in matching sweaters. He had dressed simply. Worn jeans, a plain shirt, and sneakers instead of his usual Italian leather shoes. He looked more like a struggling single dad than a powerful CEO. That was exactly the image he wanted. Across from him walked in a woman he had never seen before, Lena Brooks. She wasn't dressed in designer clothes, instead, she wore a soft blue dress with her hair pulled back neatly, and her warm smile lit up the entire diner. Her eyes softened the moment she saw the twins. "You must be Ethan," she said kindly, sliding into the booth. She greeted the children first, asking them about their favorite cartoons, before even turning to Ethan. He noticed something instantly, her attention wasn't fixed on impressing him. She was present, authentic, and real. As they ordered food, Ethan felt himself doing something he hadn't done in years, laughing. The twins warmed to her immediately, sharing stories about their school and their late-night pillow fights. Lena listened like she had all the time in the world. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't a CEO, a billionaire, or a public figure, he was simply a father on a blind date. And Lena? She didn't seem to mind the cracks in his story about working as a junior consultant at a small firm, or the fact that he had brought his kids along. Instead, she said softly, "I admire that you're raising them on your own. That says more about your character than any fancy job ever could." Ethan felt a strange pull in his chest, a whisper of hope he hadn't dared to feel in a long time. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and Lena began to see more of each other. Their dates weren't extravagant dinners or luxury yacht rides. Ethan kept up his act of being financially average. Instead, they went to parks with the kids, shared ice cream on sidewalks, and once even spent an afternoon at the zoo, where Lena carried Emma on her shoulders when she got tired. Ethan watched in quiet awe as Lena treated his children like they mattered, not as burdens but as blessings. She laughed when Noah spilled juice on her dress, she held Emma's hand while crossing the street, and she listened when the twins told her long, winding stories. For Ethan, the experience was transformative. In the boardroom, he was in control of billions, but with Lena, he learned to find joy in simplicity, picnics under the sun, board games on rainy evenings, late-night conversations where she spoke of her dreams and struggles. Lena worked as a teacher, living modestly but with dignity. She wasn't bitter about her life, she was proud of her work, proud of making a difference in the lives of children who often came from broken homes. "I've seen kids with everything money could buy, but no love in their homes," she once told Ethan as they sat on a park bench. And I've seen kids with almost nothing, but parents who make them feel rich with love. You can guess which ones grow up happier. Her words struck him deeper than she could imagine. Ethan realized that in his pursuit of wealth, he had almost forgotten the essence of love, kindness, and human connection. With Lena, there were no pretenses, no hidden agendas, just honesty. She didn't ask about his career beyond what he had told her. She didn't press for where he lived or how much he earned. She saw him as a man, a father, and, possibly, something more. But with every passing day, the secret grew heavier on Ethan's heart. How long could he keep up the act? How would Lena react when she discovered he wasn't a consultant scraping by, but the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation? He feared that truth might shatter the fragile but beautiful world they had begun to build together. Yet, he also feared losing her if she found out he had lied. The twins, innocent as they were, adored Lena. One evening, Noah whispered to his dad, "Can she stay forever?" Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted that more than anything, but forever had to be built on truth. And Ethan wasn't sure he was ready to give it to her yet. It all came crashing down one Saturday morning. Lena had agreed to meet Ethan at his apartment for the first time. He had deliberately chosen a modest rental he kept for privacy instead of his actual penthouse. But when an emergency call from his assistant forced him to step out briefly, Lena was left alone with the twins. In her curiosity, she looked through a few books on the shelf, only to stumble upon a folder left behind. Inside were documents, articles, and business contracts, all under the name Ethan Cole, CEO of Cole Enterprises. Her hands trembled as she flipped through them. The man she had been seeing wasn't a struggling single dad at all, he was one of the country's richest and most powerful men. Shock and betrayal surged through her veins. When Ethan returned, Lena was sitting stiffly on the couch, the folder in her lap. Her face was pale, her eyes glistening with hurt. "Who are you, Ethan?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Ethan froze. He saw the folder, saw the pain in her eyes, and knew the charade was over. The words tumbled out, about his fear of being loved for his money, about wanting someone genuine, about testing if love without wealth was still possible. But Lena didn't see romance in his confession. She saw lies. "You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth," she said, her voice trembling. "Do you know how humiliating this feels? To realize I've been falling for someone who never showed me who he really was?" Ethan's heart cracked as he watched her walk away, her footsteps heavy with disappointment. The twins cried, asking where Lena was going, but Ethan couldn't answer. For the first time, the billionaire CEO felt truly powerless. No money, no power, no influence could fix the mess his fear had created. Days turned into weeks. Lena avoided his calls, his messages, his attempts at explaining. He sent flowers, letters, even came to her school. But she remained firm. She wasn't angry at his wealth. She was hurt by his deception. "You thought I'd treat you differently if I knew the truth," she finally told him one evening outside her school. "But by lying, you made that choice for me. You never gave me the chance to prove who I am." Her words cut deeper than any business defeat ever could. Ethan returned home that night, his twins asleep, and wondered if he had lost the only woman who had ever seen him for more than his bank account. Ethan could have given up, but something inside him refused. He didn't want to lose Lena, not because of a mistake, but because he hadn't shown her the depth of his heart. He began doing something he had never done before, showing his vulnerability. Instead of sending gifts or flaunting wealth, he started writing her letters, handwritten, raw, and filled with the truth of who he was beyond the CEO title. He wrote about his wife, his loneliness, his fear of being used, and how Lena had changed him. He left the letters at her doorstep quietly, never asking for anything in return. Weeks later, Lena finally sat down with him. Her voice was softer this time. I don't care that you're rich, Ethan. I care that you lied. But I've seen the way you are with your kids. I've seen the way you are when you forget about money. That's the man I care about. Tears filled his eyes as he reached for her hand. Then let me prove that man is real, every day, for the rest of my life. The twins, overjoyed, welcomed Lena back into their little world with squeals of delight. From then on, Ethan no longer hid who he was, but he also no longer let money define his relationships. With Lena, dinners at small diners felt more precious than banquets at five-star hotels. With her, bedtime stories meant more than boardroom victories. She didn't just love Ethan Cole, the billionaire, she loved Ethan, the man, the father, the imperfect soul who had finally learned that trust was worth more than all the money in the world. And as Lena leaned into his arms one evening while the twins fell asleep beside them, she whispered, "You don't have to pretend anymore. Just be you. That's enough." For the first time in years, Ethan believed it. Never judge love by money, watch how kindness, honesty, and trust can change everything. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll. Hit like, share it with someone who believes in true love, and subscribe for more life-changing stories every week.